Shalom, Israel. Once again, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect, beginning with the 144,000. Lord willing, this lesson be edifying to the hopeful elect, straight to the point. And I will entitle this one, what was the title? What do you call it? Or what is it called when current events match up with the scriptures? What is it called when current events match up with the scriptures? All right. And those in the know, right, know that the answer to that is prophecy. All right. When current events, things that are currently taking place on the earth, all right, things that are being reported in the news are matching up with what the scriptures have said was going to happen before they appear on the news. That's prophecy being fulfilled. All right. And so I'm gonna get into it. So I put in military campaigns in the Middle East today, right? On Google AI overview, as of today, April 7th, 2025, the Middle East remains a region of ongoing military campaigns with Israel's military operations in Gaza, tensions with Iran and the Houthis in Yemen, alongside other conflicts, all playing a significant role. Let me see what images they got. Okay, so right, so this would be the so-called Middle East, all right, which is surrounded, you know, all of the military conflicts in this area is all surrounding around Israel, all right, the nation of Israel, which is now the state of Israel, all right, in which those small hats, those rats, those 48ers, those imposters, posing to be the true people of the land over there, you know, are now inhabiting. All right, not the Israelites, but the small hats without the TE at the end. All right, the J's. All right, if you catch my drift. But anyways, this whole area, you know, is on fire, and I'm gonna show you. It says, going back, it says, here's a more detailed breakdown. Israel-Hamas conflict. Gaza. Israel is continuing its military campaign in Gaza, with recent reports indicating increased operations in the south, including the Morag axis in Rafah. Evacuation orders. The Israeli military has issued sweeping evacuation orders to residents of Rafah, directing them to head north to the Al-Mawasi tent encampment. Ceasefire proposals. Israel has presented a new ceasefire proposal with Hamas, but the situation remains volatile. U.S. military presence. The U.S. is reinforcing its military capabilities in the Middle East, moving air defense capabilities from Asia and increasing aircraft carrier deployments, right? Because America funds and backs up the state of Israel, all right? You know, and that's how everything basically started. You know, once those people were placed there, you know, in 1948, all right, after World War II. Before that, you know, you had the so-called Palestinians. You know, they had control of that area, but now that area is broken up, and ever since then, you know, you've been that area has been on fire. All right, and they call it a holy war. You know, so anyways, it says, so the U.S. and the state of Israel is one and the same. All right, just like Russia and Iran is basically one and the same. Russia backs up Iran, all right, and they have a lot of investments together. Anyways, Yemen, it says U.S.-led intervention. The U.S. is engaged in a bombing campaign targeting the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Houthi attacks. The Houthis have been launching attacks, including rocket barrages at Israel. Other conflicts. Syria. Multiple armed conflicts continue in Syria, involving numerous armed groups fighting against the government and each other. Iran is a major player in the region with a history of proxy conflicts and a nuclear program that raises concerns. Regional tensions remain high between Iran and the U.S., with both sides increasing their military presence in the region. U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, is responsible for defending and promoting U.S. interests in 20 nations in the Middle East, Central and South Asia, and the strategic waterways that surround them. Operations Inherent Resolve. That's it on that, right? So I won't go here, right? Because this is, you know, this is the reason why. You know, this is what everything that's going on over there in the so-called Middle East is leading up to. All right, those imposters, all right, over there in the land are only there because the true people of the land, which you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, you know, the 12 tribes of Israel, all right, the Israelites, not the E's, all right, sent against the Most High, which his name is Yahweh. Oh, they about to crash. By breaking the law, statutes, and commandments that were given to us to rule over the earth and all nations with. All right, we worshipped, we disobeyed the Heavenly Father, pissed him off, disrespected him by worshiping the gods of these other heathen nations. The number one thing of all of the laws, statutes, and commandments, right? Due to that, the Heavenly Father cast curses upon us. Part of those curses is us being conquered by our enemies, all nations outside of our nation, the heathens, the Gentiles. All right. The top nation, the wicked in the devil in the flesh, the nation, the so-called white man, the biblical Edomites. All right. In which the earth was given possession of the earth was given into the hands of this nation for a period of time. All right. Which the headquarters of this nation in these last days is Babylon the Great, which is known as the United States of America today. All right, which, like I said, set up those small hats to pose as the true people of the land of Israel, returning back to their land. All right, that whole shit was a setup, was staged. It was a hoax, to confuse, to lie and confuse the inhabitants of the earth, especially the true chosen people of God, which is you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. All right, and so now it's time for those curses to be lifted off of our people, for us to wake up into the remembrance of who we are, the realization of what's going on the face of the earth, right? Be able to recognize what time in history we are at, which is the time for us to return home, for the curse to be lifted off of us, all right? And in turn, the people who have been ruling over us will be brought out of power and will be destroyed and evicted, all right, ran out of our land, so that we can regain control over our land and the earth, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, once Yahushua makes his second return. So the waking up of the Israelites, seeing the prophets, the men of the Lord go out on the highways and byways week in and week out, right? The military conflicts over there in the Middle East, all of this is gearing towards the end of the world, all right, which is the end of the rulership of these heathens, mainly these devils, the nation of so-called white man, all right, and the ushering in, the bringing in of the kingdom of heaven, all right, after the thermal, at the same time, or after the thermonuclear destruction. So this is Ezekiel 37:19, Salaki. It says, saying unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand, right? And so, a little history, AI overview. After the death of King Solomon, the united kingdom of Israel split into two: the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. All right. Damn, hold up. Okay, so, oh wait, that wasn't what I wanted. Right, so this is a visual of what happened, right? The kingdom of Israel had split. You had the northern kingdom of Israel, and then you had the southern kingdom of Judah. All the same people, but there was a division, all right? And then under the once the Assyrians conquered, invaded our lands and conquered our people, right? The 10 tribes, the kingdom of Israel, were exiled, all right, and scattered, all right, and migrated, started their migration process over here to the western hemisphere of the earth, all right, to the Americas, which you can read in the Apocrypha. And eventually, right, throughout the different captivities, the Babylonians, the Medo-Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, all right, eventually, in due time, due to the curses being on us and our enemies being allowed to conquer us, we were all 12 tribes were totally scattered, was totally driven out of the land and scattered across the four corners of the earth. All right. So this is why the 12 tribes of Israel chart is so important, because on the left is the 12 tribes of Israel, and on the right is the names that each tribe has been identified as today on the face of the earth. All right. And so this chart alone is prophecy being fulfilled. All right. And it's a major tool being used to help bring back the 12 tribes of Israel, help unite the southern and northern kingdom, the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah, all 12 tribes coming together. All right. So back in Ezekiel 37, say unto them, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim. All right, because the Ephraimites is basically like the head tribe of the northern kingdom. All right, the 10 tribes of the northern kingdom. It says, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in my hand. That's why you see various camps, all right, in your major cities in the Americas, all right, and various other parts on the face of the earth, all right. And you got a mix of brothers, some so-called Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, some so-called North American Indians, some so-called Haitians, some so-called African Americans, all right, some so-called Jamaicans, okay, so-called Mexicans, Guatemalans, all right, Colombians. You see these people who once stood divided, due to confusion and being lied to. You see these people coming together. This is prophecy being fulfilled. It says, Ezekiel 37:20, and the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes, and say unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, because we were once we were exiled and driven out of our land due to the curses, we were intermingled with all nations outside of our nation. All right, we had children with all of the nations of the earth. All right. I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and will bring them into their own land. So this is what they called themselves doing, all right, in 1948. That was a hoax of the fulfillment of this prophecy. Okay, it says Ezekiel 37:22. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all. Where's that one king? If they fulfilled this prophecy, where's that one king? It says, and they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all. All right. Why is that? Why is the that's two strikes. Where's the king? All right. Where is and why is the state of Israel broken up? All right. With why is there a holy war over there between the so-called Palestinians and those small hats over there? All right. Because they're fighting over that land that's divided. Verse 23, neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols. Right. Once the true people of that land return, there will be no more worshiping of false gods. All right. It says, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions, but I will save them out of all their dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their God. Verse 24, and David, my servant, shall be king over them. Where's King David? It says, and they all shall have one shepherd, and they shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them, which is what they are not doing over there in the land of Israel. You got the city Tel Aviv, which is known for straight sodomites. All right, the alphabet people. All right, those happy ass the happy gang. All right. They got something called kosher pig. It's unlawful to there's no such thing as a kosher pig in the scriptures. All right, but these are all signs of them not being the chosen people of that land, the original the actual people of that land. It says and they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they and their children and their children's children forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. There's no peace over there. All right, where's the covenant of peace? All right, if they fulfilled this prophecy, said it shall be an everlasting covenant with them. That area is in constant threat. The people of that land is fighting to keep possession of that land. All right, it's not looking like they're gonna be able to. It's not looking, the way it looks is no guarantee that they will be able to keep possession of that land. All right. And it's definitely no peace. It says, I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Yeah, I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And the heathen shall know that I, the Lord, do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. Ezekiel 38. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him. All right, so this is talking about Russia. All right, the land of Gog and Magog. All right, the people that are now inhabiting that land, all right, are now known as the Russians. Okay, and the people that are inhabiting that land are going to fulfill this prophecy, which will lead up to the kingdom of heaven being established on the face of the earth. It says, verse 3, and say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. So the Lord said that there was going to be something that was going to happen that was going to turn the people over there in that land back into being in that great spirit of war, preparing themselves for war. All right, and that prophecy has been fulfilled. It's in the process of being fulfilled, right, through Vladimir Putin. All right, going into the history of the fall of the Soviet Union, you know, the time of the what they call the Cold War, in which there was heavy tensions, heavy military tensions between the U.S. and the USSR, the Soviet Union. All right, you had the collapse of the Soviet Union. All right, and then Vladimir Putin, all right, came into office, and you know, after the fall of the Soviet Union, right, tensions between the U.S. and Russia, the people in that land started to die out, right, and how it looked, you know, America started moving in to capitalize off of the fall of the Soviet Union. If I'm not mistaken, they had a hand to play in the fall of the Soviet Union. All right. But anyways, when Vladimir Putin came into office, that whole you know, he basically brought back that USSR Soviet Union spirit. All right, and that's what the war with Ukraine is all about, you know, partially, you know, the Russians, because Ukraine was at one point in time part of the Soviet Union, the USSR, all right, and so Putin is in the spirit of bringing back the Russians into that Soviet Union, USSR greatness, all right, being a superpower, the most dominant force on the eastern hemisphere of the earth, all right, against the most dominant force on the earth, especially on the western hemisphere of the earth, which is America, which is known as Babylon the Great. So it says, I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and will bring thee forth and all thine army, right? So a fish, right, is going one way, then you cast the hook, you cast the fishing line, right? The fish grabs the hook, it hooks into the fish's jaws, and now it tries to swim off into a direction, but you reel it back into the way that you want it to go. So this is what the Lord did with the people of that land. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them, right? All of the military tanks, the Humvees, right? it says horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor. All right, all of the body armor. All right, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. The modern day sword is guns, pistols, machine guns, missiles, all right, grenades, all weapons of destruction. Ezekiel 38:5. Persia, which is Iran, all right, Ethiopia and Libya, with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer, which is Turkey, and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. All right, it says, be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. All right, so I'm gonna stop there. All right, because I just wanted to point out, these names, these main characters that were named in the process of this prophecy being fulfilled. All right, so I named the land of Gog and Magog. All right, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. All right, the Russians. All right, Persia, which is Iran. All right, Ethiopia, Libya. All right, and Turkey. All right, which it says be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company. All right, that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. So according to prophecy, the Russians will be set up through military efforts to back up and support and protect these allied countries, namely Iran, Ethiopia, Libya, and Turkey. All right, so now right, Ethiopia is right basically under Yemen, right? This showing a little visual, right? Ethiopia and Russia military cooperation, right? It says, following the Ogaden War, the Soviet Union strengthened its ties to Ethiopia. Moscow provided the Derg with more than 11 billion military aid, leading to the creation of the largest army in sub-Saharan Africa. Soviet support was critical in the continuing suppression of Eritrean, I don't know how to pronounce that, and Tigrian separatists. I'm just trying to touch surface level without, right? It says, and this is from March 15th, 2025. The Ethiopian and Russian navies discussed potential cooperation, focusing on training and capacity building, right? March 16, 2025, the Maritime Executive. It says Russia agrees to help landlocked Ethiopia rebuild its navy. During the visit, the two sides signed a cooperation agreement on training and capacity building. Russia has pledged to work so this is current events, right? Military Ethiopia and Russia being joined together. Turkey, right? I mentioned Turkey. This is 2024. A defining element in contemporary Russian-Turkish relations has been the deliberate choice of both. Okay, I ain't gonna go into it. Russia-Turkey relations on Wikipedia. Turkey is currently the only NATO member which is not on Russia's unfriendly countries list. All right, why is that? if no other reason, right, it's because, first of all, right, NATO and the EU being the beast, all right, being the beast that the scripture says is going to hate the whore being America, which is known as Babylon the Great in the scriptures, all right. So part of prophecy says that America's allies, all right, NATO and the EU are there's gonna be something that's gonna happen that's gonna cause these allies to turn on America, to hate her, and to shoot nuclear missiles on her. It said she would burn, and the beast would burn her with fire. All right, and so even though Turkey is a NATO member, all right, they tied in, all right, and those relations with Turkey and Russia is going to increase. Okay, Republic of Turkey Ministry of Foreign, www.mfa.gov, without going into it. Relations between Turkey and the Russian Federation. Trade volume between two states has reached, all right, so they trade with each other. It says 2019. February 6, 2025, Oxen.com. Russia's relations with Turkey will face challenges. The downfall of the Assad government in Syria and the termination of gas transit through Ukraine have increased Turkey's leverage over Russia. FDD.org, Turkey's balancing act in the Ukraine conflict. Again, March 5th, 2025. Turkey has also deepened in its economic ties with Russia, including collaborating on a Russian-built nuclear power plant on Turkish soil. All right, so I don't got to get heavy into it, right? The proof is in the pudding, okay? And now, right, I mentioned Persia, right? At one point, Iran used to be called Persia, all right, and you even have the Persian Gulf over there, all right, which is if I'm not mistaken, also, you know, known as the Valley of Jehoshaphat, all right, which is another name for the Middle East as well. You know, the area in which the Lord is putting the spirit of all these main armies, all right, and their allies, main nations and their armies and their allies to be gathered at, all right, so that the earth can be judged, all right, in the day of the Lord's judgment. So this is a visual of what's going on in the area, all right. You got Iran and their proxies, all right, set up all around what Israel, okay. The Assad regiment, the insurgent groups in Iraq, they in Syria, Hezbollah, Lebanon, Hamas, all right, the Yemen Houthi rebels, okay. So that area is real hot right now, okay. This is another visual. These are all screenshots from a YouTube video that I was watching. That instead of playing the video, I just took some screenshots and decided to do a lesson on it. All right, so www.tbn.org/rebuild Israel. Why would if they fulfilled the prophecy of returning back to the land that rightfully belongs to them, all right, they should have peace over there. And if they have peace, why would they need to rebuild? The reason for they haven't they looking for aid and help to rebuild Israel is because Israel is being attacked. Israel, the state of Israel's cities and towns are being attacked due to the war that's going on over there. All right. So it's under constant threat. All right. Look at America's military occupation in the area. It's all surrounding around Israel. Okay. And that Persian Gulf area. All right. USS Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group, USS Russell, USS Michael Murphy, USS Lebanon, USS Cole, USS Bulkley, Wasp, Amphibious Ready Group. All right, why is they over here? Is it by coincidence? Is it just because they are looking to expand control, looking to control more of the earth? Yeah, that's a carnal reason, but spiritually it's because the Lord is putting it in the spirits of these nations to gear up towards World War III, all right, and which will result in an all-out thermonuclear war, which is the ultimate judgment, all right, for the wickedness of the earth. The event that must take place after the microchip is made mandatory, which will separate the elect of the nation of Israel from 2/3 that will have to be destroyed, all right, in the day of the Lord's judgment by the thermonuclear missiles. Okay. The changing of times, all right. The transition of this world of wickedness to the kingdom of heaven, the world of righteousness forever. All right. The point in which Yahweh Shah is going to make his second return and take back possession of the earth with the elect of the nation of Israel. This is why. Russia, right? Look at Russia's occupation in the area. All right. Libya, right? See Libya over there. You see Turkey up there, right? Iran. All right. So it says fears of Russian base at Tobruk in Libya. It says Russian Navy bases at Tarsus on Syria coast. Russia and Egypt holding joint drills near entrance to Suez Canal. All right. But all the major players, all right, and their allies are that whole area is hot. All right. Now this says it says with Iran, but why would they want to help the US against Iran? All right. It says because Iran is supplying drones and weapons to Russia in its war against Ukraine. Yeah. And also Iran is buying weapons from Russia. It's complicated. It's complicated. All right. So this is dialogue between the person that was doing the interview and I forget who they was doing it with. All right. The Telegraph. The United States is demanding that Europe pays for its own defense at the very moment it is trying to impoverish the whole continent. Trump is the shakedown president, but his hucksterism won't end well, right? Because everything that Trump is doing is only gonna help pop off. Is only gonna help bring about that new world order system, all right, which part of that is the micro CHIP technology being forced upon the people, which is the fulfillment of the MOTB prophecy, all right. And once that happens, once that prophecy is fulfilled, then World War III is going to reach its peak, ending in thermonuclear war. All right, so very exciting times. All right, and like the title is right. What is it called? When current events matches with the scriptures. So this is Joel 3:1. It says, "For behold," right now the head title, the nations will be judged. All nations will be judged. All right, the nation of Israel and all other heathen nations. All right. 1/3 of the nation of Israel, beginning with 144,000, are the only ones on the face of the earth that will be exempt from judgment. That will have the mark, all right, the Wah, all right, which the only ones on the face of the earth who have the names of Yahweh Shem Yahushua spiritually implanted in their minds, all right, which is a sign which is what one will need in order to be covered by the sacrificial blood of Yahushua, in order to be exempt from the judgment that's about to take place on the face of the earth. But 2/3 of our people, along with all other heathen nations, will be judged for their wickedness, will be judged for their sins. All right. And the ultimate judgment is that thermonuclear destruction. It says, "For behold, in those days," in these days that we're living in now, the end of days, all right, "and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem," all right, all 12 tribes of Israel, all right, in these times when the Lord is going to bring all the 12 tribes of Israel back together, verse 2, it says, "I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat," which is over there in the surrounding areas of the Persian Gulf. All right. It says, what they call the Middle East. It says, "and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel." How is the Lord going to plead for his people, the nation of Israel? All right, by judging them, by destroying them, bringing them out of power, bringing them together to be judged. All right, to cause World War III to reach its peak. All right, which will result in an all-out nuclear war, and Yahushua making his second return in the middle of all of this as a grand entrance for his return. All right, putting all nations, all heathen nations, under his authority, delivering physically the elect of the nation of Israel from out of that fire. Restarting the earth, because the end of the world is not the end of the planet, but the end of this rulership, and the restoration of our people being in rulership, being in power. It says, "and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land." All right, so like I said, to this day, all right, that holy war is because of the fight for the land which is divided. It says, verse 3, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. Right. All these nations have had a hand to play in our captivity and the enslavement of our people, the oppression of our people, and the destruction of our people, the confusion and lying to our people. All right. Verse 4, it says, yeah, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, which is those so-called the so-called Africans, all right, because the triangular slave trade, all right, the transatlantic slave trade, the facts of that we were taught lies about, all right. We were taught that it was Africans that sold other Africans into slavery, all right, to the so-called white people, and they teach us nothing about the role that the so-called Arabics or the so-called Zionist Jews played in it, all right. But the fact of the matter is that the 3 points of the trade was, who had Africans selling the Israelites, all right, which were originally colored people, into these crackers, these Edomites, all right, the nation of so-called white man, the devil in the flesh, all right, and the Ishmaelites, all right, the so-called Arabics, they were the ones that were building the boats and the so-called Jays, all right. They funded the whole thing. So it says, yeah, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, right, which would be a part of Lebanon today, right? It says, in all the coast of Palestine, all right, will ye render me a recompense? And if, right, those Palestinians, basically the Arabics, all right, which the Palestinians and the Iranians, they all are basically one and the same. They fighting fighting on the same team. All right, they all Muslims. It says and if ye recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return recompense unto your head, because ye have taken my silver and my gold and carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. Right. Throughout, from our people being driven out of our land, being exiled, being ruled over by our enemies, they robbed and spoiled you, all of the riches of that land. All right, they burnt our books. They took the records. All right, they took the riches. All right, they robbed us. It says, verse 6, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the land, out of the place whither ye have sold them. Where will we sold? Throughout the four corners of the earth, primarily, right, in the over here in the Americas. All right, it says, and will return recompense upon your own head. So the same place where we was sent as slaves is the same place where you see us waking up and being gathered, preparing ourselves for the day of the Lord's judgments, the day in which the Heavenly Father will pay back all these heathen nations for the role that they played in our downfall. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hands of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for the Lord has spoken it. Right. So not only is the nation of Israel the elect of the nation of Israel going to be saved and survive the thermonuclear war, they are going to also gather all the survivors of all the heathen nations, all right, after the thermonuclear destruction, and drag their ass into slavery for 1,000 years, and sell and make them slaves the same way that they made us slaves. Make them build, clean up the earth and build up our kingdom the same way that they did us. Verse 9, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. All right. That's it. That's basically, right? I could keep going on, but Lord willing, this is edifying, right? All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect, beginning with the 144,000. Shalom.